How to build a brand as a real estate agent that will add you 20, 30, or 40 listings per year, even if you have never done any kind of marketing as a real estate agent before. So the first thing we need to talk about is what is actually a brand, what a brand is. Now, I worked with over the last 7 years with over 700 real estate agents, one-on-one in the trenches. We've spent millions of dollars on paid advertising for real estate seller lead generation. And we have also talked to thousands of real estate agents in the United States and North America. So we've had the experience to see what people actually think, what people are actually doing with real estate marketing. And we've seen behind the trenches of what if you push this button, what happens here, what if you do here, what's going to happen. And so a lot of people think that when we talk about a brand, right, that what comes to mind oftentimes is essentially their company brand guidelines. So these are things like logo or design of the mailers or things like colors you're using, right? Now, what a brand is in the context of real estate listing generation, right? It's actually none of these things. So it's not going to be your logo, not going to be design, not going to be the website you use. It's not going to be the colors you actually use. So brand in the context of real estate seller lead generation, right, it's actually your reputation. So brand is essentially the perception people have about you based on what they see and hear from you. So it's the gut feeling people have about you and really the gut feeling they have about you in their minds, but also in their hearts. What's the emotion that comes to mind, right, when they think about you? And every single real estate agent that's a real estate agent, right, has a personal brand. But the thing is, most people are actually not even aware that they do have a personal brand. And the scaling method for personal branding, right, obviously there's different types of ways to scale a personal brand. So a lot of real estate agents have a personal brand, right, and that's why people refer business to them. That's why people do business with them based on their sphere of influence, referrals, things like this, right? But if you want to look at the branding from a more kind of like scaling way, so in the sense that, okay, if you have thousands of people, right, if you want to have thousands of people to see you as a brand or see you as a person they want to work with, you need a scaling method, you need a way to build that up, right? So the thing about a personal branding in a sense that everybody has a personal brand, right, is the fact that most people have a very limited personal brand. So it's based on their sphere, their friends, their family, and they built a personal brand, they built a reputation with them. The problem for most real estate agents actually is that they don't have a way to scale that personal brand, assuming that they do have a good personal brand in the first place. So personal branding online is the most powerful way to predispose local people and tons of them to listing their houses with you. Now, how a brand gets created, you want to think about it from a lens of view of just like you have a reputation in your personal life, right? You have your friends, your neighbors, your local community. Well, the same exact way you build a personal brand online. So everything you do online also affects your personal brand, from the way you talk in your content, from the way you walk in your content, what you associate yourself with, your education, how well you follow through on your promises, the way you interact with people, the clothes you wear, the way you write things, the way you use the camera, right, to take pictures, to shoot videos from the home you yourself live in that shows up in your content. So literally everything actually affects your personal brand, both in your personal life, but then also in a sense of online marketing. Now, you want to pay attention to the dynamics behind this personal branding, right? Because just like we talked, the branding itself, it's not about the logo. It's not about the website. The branding itself is actually about the perception. It's about the reputation people build with you. And so it's an audience online that you actually build a brand to, and you can build a certain feeling based on who you are to make people feel a certain way about you and your service, the services you provide as a real estate agent. And so it's key that we pay attention to this because now you understand that, okay, if personal branding is essentially reputation building, right, it's the perception you build as a realtor, well, how do you actually do that online? And that's why we're going to cover these principles of personal branding. These are essentially going to be guidelines that you use to build a brand that actually gets you real estate clients, gets you build a reputation in a way that's going to allow you to attract people to work with you. Now, let's talk about these principles. So there's various of them, but these are the main ones you want to follow. So the first principle of personal branding is going to be differentiation. The problem with real estate, right, is that there's a lot of real estate agents. And the thing is, there's a big difference between each real estate agent, right? If you work with a part-time real estate agent that just got started with real estate 6 months ago, right, that's going to be a very different experience than if you work with a seasoned pro, somebody that has sold like thousands of houses, to have 30, 20 years of experience, right? They have a team around them, right? All these things. But the thing is, with the homeowners, right, they don't usually actually see the difference between this real estate agent and that real estate agent. So different is better than better. Even if you are a great real estate agent, you still need to be able to show that in your marketing, because the homeowners, they have no idea about what is the difference between you and the other guy. And the last thing you want to be known for as a real estate agent is being another real estate agent, right? So you have to be able to build a personal brand to kind of like build a moat around yourself so that people want to work with you specifically. Because the thing is, people need to sell their houses anyway, right? And most people that are going to be using a real estate agent, they're going to be hiring a real estate agent. And so the only thing you have to do is to get them to select you as opposed to anybody else. And that's what differentiation is, that you have to be able to get the people to select you as opposed to everybody else. Now, second principle of personal branding is relevance. So connection on a level where you become a relevant figure in people's lives. This is the biggest problem with kind of like modern real estate marketing, where it's very automated, it's very templated. People tend to use ChatGPT, all sorts of softwares, all sorts of tools. But you got to ask yourself the question, how is any of that relevant to the homeowner, right? How is a homeowner, a person that has a house and a family and a dog, right? How they're going to resonate with that content that's made by AI, made by a tool, right? So there's nothing that really allows you to connect, tap into that social factor when it comes down to marketing, unless you are relevant, unless you can show them like, hey, I live in this local community, I also have kids, I also have a dog, right? You have to find a relatability point so that you can become a relevant figure in the people's lives. Now, step number 3, and the principle number 3 is going to be leading with values. So again, the problem with modern real estate marketing is a lot of it just tends to be very salesy. It just tends to be call to actions like, here's a listing, or I just sold, just listed, reach out to me when you want to work with me type of things. And everything that you do with your marketing online, it should actually build goodwill bank account. And what I mean by goodwill bank account is that imagine if you run an advertisement on social media. After watching that advertisement, do you feel like I would actually pay for this advertisement? And actually, if you look at your own ads and you don't feel that way, you should stop running the ad, because at that point, you're just harming your own reputation. So traditional kind of like salesy real estate marketing back from the 80s is a good way to destroy your goodwill bank account. It's a good way to destroy your reputation into a massive, massive debt, ultimately to a point where you cannot get any listings from your social media or online marketing in general. So the thing is, everything with your marketing should be based on this principle of imagining a bank account and imagining that every single ad, every single content you create essentially is a part of that bank account. It's a little bit like an investment that you put out there, right? And then people consume that investment, they should feel happy, they should feel great that, hey, this was a good thing, I'm glad I watched this. And then that way, over the long time horizon, you'll get people to want to work with you. Now, principle number 4 is that it's personal. So people need to feel like they know you, to relate to you. People need to feel like they can trust you as a human being, not just as a real estate agent, but as a human being without even meeting you in person. And this is super crucial because if you look at statistics, 33% of listings, according to the National Association of Realtors, they go based off referrals. So that just tells you like 33% of total listings, all the listings that are out there, they go based on referrals. So that tells you like how important actual real human relationships still are. And they're only going to go more and more to that direction. Meaning, as AI progresses, as different softwares come out, right, those things that are basically automatized or generic, right, they're going to fade away because AI can do that, right? But what AI can do is really provide that local human being that's relevant to them, that's relatable to them, right? Because AI is not a human being, but you are a human being, right? You have those stories, you have those values, you are a person, and so that's why your personal branding, your marketing should also feel personal. Now, principle number 5 is that it's memorable. So brand needs to be tightly defined in order for it to be memorable. And the thing is, if you have not defined your personal brand, right, you don't know What are those things that you want to bring forward about yourself? What are those things that are making you stand out, right? Well, it's impossible to be memorable because there's nothing that you can actually use as a form of long-form strategy to build that memorable effect. Now, principle number 6 is that you want to communicate clear values. You must have a stance in terms of what you believe in and what you don't believe in. It's super essential because a lot of times what I see is that people think that personal branding, right, is posting cat pictures or it's posting pictures from a restaurant, right? But none of those things actually build a personal brand. They're just random content out there, right? So what you want to be doing is that once you have defined your personal brand, right, you want to be communicating clear values you have as a person and as a real estate agent on a consistent basis so that people get a certain image about you as a person and as a real estate agent. Now, principle number 7 is that it's true to you. So your brand must be based on reality. What I mean here more is that your brand must be based on reality, and you want to select those things that are honest about yourself and post them online from a lens of view of that definition. So you have defined your values, you have defined of memorization, right? And then you create content based on that. It's authentic, it's a real, right? But you don't have to share every single aspect about your personal life or any of these things. You want to be selective of the things about you, and you want to be selective about the things that you actually post on social media so that they actually serve your goal. Now, this comes out a lot of times when people think that, do I need to post my personal life, right? Do I need to post my kids? It all goes back to this. You do not need to post personal life. You do not need to post the kids to build a personal brand. Now, principle number 8 is that it's persuasive. So everything in your brand should really be aimed to make people believe that you can help them and make people believe that hiring a real estate agent is the only way to sell their house and that you're the best realtor for them in their market. So it has to be persuasive. You have to provide data. You have to provide different cognitive biases in your marketing, such as authority bias, association bias. All these things affect the perception you have created about yourself. Principle number 9 is that it's clearly targeted. So it speaks to a specific group of people that have commonalities. So it's super key that when you are creating your marketing, right, don't just try to create content for everybody. I always see this where people are trying to create content for first-time buyers. They're trying to create content for this state and that state. Then they're trying to focus on listings. And it's basically very random and there's no specific consistency about the marketing at all. So you have to pick a specific group of people that have commonalities and speak to those people over and over again, because now you're going to be able to attract the attention, but you're also going to be able to build a real relationship. So it's a little bit like, let's say you are building a relationship in the real world, right? You cannot build relationships with all the people in the world, right? You have to pick a certain group you want to be focusing on. Now, also, another principle of personal branding, the last one, is it's based on great service. So obviously, you must take into account your actual real estate service, right? And I want to make sure that's as good as possible, because the thing is, when you have a great service as a real estate agent, it's a lot easier to market that than a bad service. Because the thing is, you can use different client stories. Obviously, you'll get people to share your content after you help them selling their house or buying a house, right? So it's a little bit like if you do not have a great service and you're trying to build a personal brand anyway, right? It's like driving a car but having a big limitation on the car. If you could go 100 miles an hour, you could go 200 miles an hour, right? Well, now you can only go 40 miles an hour. So obviously you still want to have great service, because great service is a lot easier to market. It's a lot easier to get more clients into. So kind of how we discussed, referrals are 33% of listings. So your client service must still be top tier for your personal brand for it to really take off. And this is obviously something that applies to any business, right? You have to make sure your product, your service is top tier. And now it's a lot easier to market a great service or a product. Now, where do you begin, right? So we just covered these principles. There's a lot of them, but how do you actually start implementing this stuff? Like, how do you actually go out there, right, and start doing this stuff so you can start generating real estate clients? So you first start off with your brand target audience. And your brand target audience is who do you want to work with, and ultimately what's going on in the minds of those people you want to work with. So define your primary target audience. Who are those people? And get clear on this, because ultimately you'll be able to reverse engineer how you're going to be marketing to them, which channel webinars are going to be using all of these things, right? They're going to be based on this exact thing. So the definition of target audience, so what are the practical steps, right, you can actually take is first define a price range. So do you want to focus on the average price range of your market or a little bit above that, or do you want to focus on the luxury properties, the top end of the crop? Now, also you want to look at where the homes are located in, right? What is the exact geographical area that you want to market to? And what is the typical age of those homeowners in that area? Also, you want to look at the psychographics of real estate. This is the most commonly neglected part because most people typically do know their price range, they do know their geographical area, but they're not aware of the actual common concerns, frustrations, the hopes, desires these people have related to real estate. So make sure you pay attention to both of those things, right? Look at the price range, look at the geographic, but also look at the psychological piece of that as well as you're defining your target audience. Now, next step from here, once you've defined your audience, look at your brand vision. And brand vision is ultimately what do you want people to think about you? So get clear on what you want your brand to be like. So what do you want to be known for? How do you want people to remember you? What do you want to bring forward about yourself as a person and as a real estate agent? But most importantly, in addition to being a real estate agent, what are those things you want people to know about you? Also pay attention to what do you want people to associate you with? Because a lot of times I see people that okay, they want to have higher price range properties, right? But when you go on their social media, it's like low resolution pictures, it's automated content, it's memes or political things, right? All these random things. And so the thing is, if you want to have luxury properties, right, you need to associate yourself to luxury properties, to things that luxury homeowners, right, tend to resonate with. So it's super important to pay attention to what you want to associate yourself to and then create your marketing based around that so you can actually attract those types of people. Now, an example of this, let's look at an example of a brand vision, is that I want people to see me as a credible, expert real estate agent that has helped hundreds of sellers, an agent that truly goes above and beyond for clients, and I want people to know that I'm very knowledgeable about real estate market in the local area. I'm a long-time native in our area. I want people to understand how my viral listing blueprint system delivers superior results and makes the process of selling seamless. I'm also a man of family and also I'm a man of golf. So this is a good example of a brand vision. Well, now we have this vision. Now all we have to do is just execute this vision for your real estate marketing. Next stage from here will be your brand statement. So brand statement is how can you explain what do you do, who do you do it for, and the benefits of your service in one simple sentence. So it's super key that you have this because when people come across your marketing, you need to clearly convey what you do, who do you do it for, and what's in it for them very quickly. With the modern age we live in, right, as you know, you do not have 10 hours to convince somebody you're a good choice. You more like have 10 seconds or more like 1 second to convince them. And we call this the brand statement. So it's a sentence that you place in all of your social media bios, your website, the footer in your emails, all these different places, because it sets the context for who you are and how you can be of relevance to these people that are consuming your marketing. So some of these examples are I partner with upsizing families in Northern Virginia to make a moving and an effortless process, helping people in Seattle to sell their homes at highest price through my viral sell method, 127 million real estate sold in the last 5 years, helping people buy and sell homes in Denver at best prices with 20 years of experience, and helping people find their first home or real estate investment in the Houston area. So just like we discussed before, when you define your personal brand, right, the whole goal is that people, so when you define your brand statement, the whole goal is that you explain your service with one simple sentence, who is it for, and how people can benefit from this. So oftentimes when I go to realtor social media profiles, it just says real estate agent, or it just says like, I will sell your house with the best price, or I have 20 years of experience, right? But the thing is, you have to encompass all of these things in one simple sentence. So again, you want to showcase what do you do, who is it for, and then the benefits of that in that one sentence. All these things in a clear, concise way. Now, at this stage, you should be clear on who do you help, how do you want to be known by these people, and how do you introduce yourself to these people. So you have defined your brand target audience, you define your brand vision, and you've also defined your brand statement. Now, at this stage, we're ready to go, and now we can start building your brand. So we have to select brand platforms. What are going to be the exact platforms you're going to be using to actually reach your target audience. And what are going to be the best platforms? Because we can't be on every single platform. We have to be strategic about it. Now, before we jump into this, just comment brand if you want these slides for free. So all these slides that we just covered with all the different notes, if you want to have the full note and full slides, right, for yourself, just comment brand, and my team is gonna send that over you for free. Now, brand, do that if you want that, and then the next step now will be these brand platforms. So let's hop into this. Now, with brand platforms, the first step is obviously to identify these attention allocating patterns. So for most real estate agents, you have to actually realize that most people, they are not aware that you exist. Most homeowners, they do not know that you exist. So you are in obscurity. They have no idea you are even a person. And that is the thing for basically everybody, right? When you start building your brand, even if you have done social media before, most homeowners in your market do not know you are existing. They are not aware of you. So you have to identify these attention allocating patterns to start to be able to getting out of that obscurity. And so when you pick these platforms, you don't want to pick every platform, because what I see often is people try to use Facebook, they try to use Instagram, they try to use YouTube, they try to use TikTok, they try to do Facebook groups, they try to do email inbox, they try to do mailers, they try to do cold calling. They have a bunch of different things, and if you have a bunch of different things, obviously it's impossible for you to be great at those things. And the thing is, with any one of these platforms, let's say we pick Facebook, right? One of these platforms can actually grow your business by 30 to 40 transactions a year. As example, one of our clients did 33 transactions in Bend, Oregon, just by Facebook ads. Just one platform, one traffic source. So you do not need to be a master in all of these things. Or even with YouTube, there's guys doing 50 transactions. There's one guy that does 100 transactions a year just by organic YouTube, right? So you do not need all of these platforms. You actually need one, maybe two platforms where your target audience actually spends a lot of time. Now, to give you a little bit of context around this, obviously when we work with clients, we have a specific way of defining this, but just on a surface level, you can take a look at your own market, right? Let's say you live in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of young professionals kind of moving into the area. It's a growing market, right? People are moving out of state to your market, right? If you live in a market like that, or let's say you live in Scottsdale, right? If you live in a market like that, obviously YouTube is a good platform to go for. Now, if you live in, let's say, small town in Virginia, right? You live in a small town in Virginia where the average homeowner is a typical family person, right? They have some kids. They do not necessarily watch that much YouTube or anything like that, right? Maybe you want to focus more on Facebook. Now, if you live again in a younger area, right, we want to attract, let's say, first-time home buyers as an example, right? Then Instagram might be a play, or TikTok might be a good play. So you want to be looking at these platforms and select one or two platforms that you actually focus mostly on. You can still do other platforms with a little bit of effort just to keep them on there, get some stuff out there. But as a main strategy, pick one or two platforms you're actually going to master and hone your skills in. Also, obviously, take into account your personality fit. So if you are a person that likes writing a lot more than you like, let's say, video content, right? Obviously, then you want to do more writing, so then Facebook or LinkedIn will be the play. Now, if you are a person that would be comfortable on camera, right, or you would be interested in learning the skill of being on camera, well, then obviously pick a video-based platform. And with video, you can either create long-form video or you can create short-form video. So you want to pay attention to, are you more entertaining person? So are you somebody that can have more like jokes or skits, things like this, right? In that case, you would focus more on short form. Now, if you want to be more educational, right, and you really have a lot of longer form kind of like content where you educate people, or let's say you show different properties, right? Well, now YouTube will be the place. So take into consideration both of those things, the person you want to attract, but then also your personal skill set and personal preferences for content creation. Common misconception with this is that, again, people think that they have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. You just have to know where your clients are and what is the content you personally actually enjoy creating and you personally are interested in mastering. Because the thing is, you cannot automate any of this stuff in a sense that you just put on AI, you just put a chatbot, right? You just put a little software, right? It doesn't happen that way. You're going to be actually creating the content for these people. They're going to be consuming the content. And for it to work, right, pick something that you actually like, pick something that you actually prefer to do. Now, the next stage from here will be your brand media strategy. So what kind of content you will distribute to speak to the hearts and minds of the local target audience to generate these leads and to generate these appointments. The first step of your brand media strategy is your organic content creation process. To start off with this, you start off by creating content that's going to be in alignment with these personal branding principles to the platforms that are best suited for you. Now, here's an example of what content looks like when these personal branding principles are not applied. So here on the left, we can see a picture of a house. It's kind of dull, boring, right? There's just a price, little text at the bottom, right? There's really no relevancy, there's nothing, right? It's just pure information, just a picture. In the middle, you see kind of like designed Canva picture, right? So again, this is not native to Facebook at all. It's like little text there, just some random tool created the video. Or on the right, you also see content piece that's just very, very, again, designed and very, very kind of like logo-y type of content, right? Like we discussed earlier, brand, it is not any of these things. It's the reputation, it's the goodwill that you generate as you are building your personal brand online. So when we look at content, what actually looks like when personal branding principles are applied, it looks something like this. So you see pictures here with the local home sellers, home buyers, right? You see here a real estate agent spending some free time, playing some shuffleboard. On the right, you see a real estate agent having some drinks with their wife, right? So that is the thing you want to bring forward more. As we discussed earlier, you are differentiating yourself, you're building goodwill, you're showcasing these things, the personal side about you. And that's when the brand, the reputation actually starts to build up. This is the type of content that will really get people to know you, right? Really get people to trust you and like you, because it can have that context of who you are as a person and as a real estate agent. Now, there's also a second step to your brand media strategy, and the second step is going to be your paid strategy. So paid strategy is an advertising system. So you spend some money on it and you start running advertisements to start generating leads and start generating nurturing aspect to your leads as well. So the already generated leads and leads that are coming in. Now, these two topics, organic content creation process and paid advertising strategy, there's obviously miles we could go deeper to them, right? We're not going to be able to cover them in detail with the practical steps in this exact video, but because obviously it would take us 20-30 hours just to get into the exact steps themselves, right? And now, having said that, at least now after watching this video, right, you know what a good branding looks like, you know what a brand is, and you know what are those things you actually shouldn't be doing, because obviously those things that you shouldn't be doing, they can cost you a lot of money in missed opportunities, but then also just advertising spend, also just content, time spent, software tools, all these things, right? So now at least you know what a brand is, how to build it up, how to actually build a perception about yourself so that local homeowners start reaching out to you so you can add those extra 20, 30, 40 deals from your real estate online marketing. So having said this, if you like these notes, just comment brand under this video. We'll send that, my team will send it over for free, and then you'll get access to all this information so you can go ahead and start applying this. So hopefully this video was useful. Again, if you want the slides, just comment brand and like this video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one.